Hey everybody, it's it's almost 11 o'clock at night on Monday. First off, sorry I've been away for such a long time. It's been over a month actually. And every week I'm like, I'm gonna do this today. I'm gonna do this today. And then either I'm just drained at the end of the day and I want to go to bed because this stuff doesn't go away after a while. Or something comes up and I'm like, oh, that'd be a good topic. And I jot it down and I do the quick write through what I want to talk about, and then again the day runs out. So where have I been? Well, got married, so that ate up a little bit of time. Been working on the new Dead Set record, and that's definitely been eating up the bulk of my time since then. Also, just been trying to enjoy a bit of the summer. Last year, the whole year, we were pretty much out on tour. In this one, I've been doing my best to block out the weekends to enjoy that with friends and family and to live a little because life is short. And also, everyone's getting shot in Toronto recently, so that's something to keep in mind too. Enjoy each day that you can. Last weekend, CD Baby had their DIYMUSICIans conference. I was actually thinking of trying to go to that. I think it'd be a fun trip. Nashville's super fun. Food is super good there. So I thought that might be something to do. Figured they would be streaming quite a bit of it. A guy named Rick Barker was I'd say one of the featured speakers this year. He's very forward thinking. He's the last few years I've heard him speak at conferences. He's usually, I don't want to use the term cutting edge, but he's usually a little bit ahead of the curve about what people should be doing, especially, independent artists, new artists. So I was curious to hear what he would be talking about. I did share his talk, his presentation on my page, so if you want to check that out later, definitely do that. Definitely go onto the CD Baby Facebook page, because I think they've got a half dozen, maybe even a dozen, panels and talks and stuff from their conference. So if you're in a band or you're an artist, or even go through CD Baby's Twitter page too. If you're a band or an artist, definitely check some of those talks out. But anyways, this all ties into, I saw a tweet today, and they were saying that CD Baby is now publishing over 1 million songs. This is fantastic. In short, this is a great thing. I did read the actual article. I didn't just read the headline. But one of the things they did say is that they've published over 750,000 songs at 100% of being the publisher. Now, why is this such a big deal? Actually, I should say this whole topic segues nicely into something that I really wanted to talk about as well, which is streaming and how streaming is way bigger than people think it is. Like a lot of artists, they don't get. First off, they don't really get what distribution actually is, and they don't get the market share that streaming has right now, the size of it, and they don't really get how huge that's going to be in the future. So that's another talk that I'd like to get on, probably next one. But when I saw this about CD Baby and having over 1 million songs published, in the article too, they mentioned that they have about half the size of Sony Music's global catalog. So if you just do the dumb numbers on it and say, okay, Sony Music has 2 million songs published, all those songs aren't hits. Obviously, it's just within their catalog. But that's a lot of songs since the beginning of them starting to sign stuff for their catalog or purchase things for their catalog. Companies like CD Baby, which are really digital distributions, yes, you can get physical through them as well, but they're digital distributors. So the idea that they have over 1 million songs that they've published, again, over 750,000 songs at 100%, the idea that these are people volunteering and finding them and putting their stuff up and distributing their own stuff, distributing their own stuff, this is a huge step forward, because this is one more gatekeeper, that being the majors or that being any of the labels, which really, when it got down to it, one of the things you wanted from your label, this is going back 20 years, or 20 years plus, you wanted your label to have really good distribution to get your CD into stores and get it on shelves and get it in front of people so they could see it, hopefully like it, and buy it, or try to look for it and come in and buy it. Now with digital distribution, the idea that you can literally write an album, record it in a day, and at the end of the day, granted you have artwork and some of your paperwork taken care of, you can have it uploaded and on iTunes and Spotify and Deezer and Apple Music, all of these platforms by the end of the week or within 7 to 10 days. This is a big deal. Sorry, I got a hiccup here. This is a big deal for artists because before we'd be thinking, you know, we need a label so that people can get access to your stuff. No, you need to be able to get your stuff to these distribution channels, and then it's up to you as the artist or the band or whatever to make sure people can hear it. So this is a past rant that I had talking about, like, what are you doing today? What are you doing to make sure your stuff gets heard today? This kind of falls onto your shoulders. CD Baby has their deal with all the distribution, digital distribution, so your Spotify's, Apple Music, Google Play, all that stuff. So when you get spins, you get paid. The problem with a lot of artists and bands is they grumble about how little these payouts are. Two things here. One, again, CD Baby has a deal with these companies, these platforms to get you paid. Think of CD Baby as a record label that has their distribution. Think of the majors. They have their deals with all of these distributions, so all these digital platforms, streaming services as well. So your big majors have your deal with Spotify and Apple Music. There was an article that went around, I don't want to name any names, but it was an older artist, and he was saying that he had, 5 million plays on Spotify, and it paid him $1,500. And I'm glad that one of the speakers at the CD Baby conference actually called him out, and he's just like, if you only got $1,500, you have a crap deal. My band, with Dead Set, we make about $1,000 US on 220,000 streams. So say that one more time. We make about $1,000 USD on 220,000 spins, so 220000. If you move that over one, if you have 2.2 million streams, that'd be 10 grand. If you have 22 million streams, the deal that your label has, because there's somewhere in that paperwork, hey Patricia, somewhere in that paperwork or in that deal that you have, you are getting a awful end of that stick. So with independent artists, again, be mindful of who the middleman or middle people are. Hey, sorry, it said a pause there. Back. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Always be mindful of whose hands are in your pockets. Always be mindful of who's between you and where your money's coming in, and also where your money's coming out to. There's a lot of people out there that can be spending your money. I'm not saying everyone's bad by any means, but just know what the deal is coming in so that you're not surprised when you see those numbers. So we're talking about how these bad deals, streaming is good. The publishers, there's a lot of people that and actually I'll go. There's CD Baby, there's DistroKid, and there's what's the third one there? And TuneCore. So CD Baby, DistroKid, TuneCore. Those are kind of the three big ones. Mike's asking, please talk about how artists get hurt by illegal downloads as well. I'll talk about that in a second. Don't let me forget, and I'll let you know why that's not a bad thing. The idea with those three digital distributors, I think CD Baby is the best. I've done a bit more research. There's another project I launched recently called Those Deadbeat Summers, and we did look at them because part of the model with that is to be able to quickly record songs and then put them up as they come. But one of the things that was missing from the other two main things, one of the main things that was missing from TuneCore and DistroKid was with the way that their publishing worked. CD Baby has their Pro Publishing, which collects all your royalties worldwide. Now, the bigger this company gets, the easier it's going to be for them to collect said royalties. Also, companies like this that are what I would refer to as disruptors, they're going to get smarter and smarter and build smarter and smarter technology to make sure that they don't necessarily have to have people to collect this money for you, but the idea that their system can go and track down stuff automatically. If you're going to dump money into something, you're going to dump it into the tech. That being said, there's still going to be something there for what I would break publishing down into two chunks. There's your music pimp, which is looking for your syncs, looking for your commercial, your commercial deal, looking for your song to get placed in a movie, a TV show. They're going to be there to try to land those bigger fish sort of thing. And then your publisher too is going to be looking for your collection side of it. So when people do sign to publishers, getting a little off topic, when people do sign to publishers, that is one thing that you would want as well. If you're a super pro writer and you want to get in rooms with some big AAA artists, your publisher can help there as well, because there's some politics involved there, but all that stuff is good. But back with the publishing side of it, with things like CD Baby, the idea, if you've got your song being streamed all over the world, the idea that they're going to help you collect that money. They're going to still, especially if you're North America or Canada and US, they're still going to make sure your money's collected from your SOCANs and ASCAPs and BMI, these performance rights organizations as well, PROs. So it's good that they can kind of take care of all that. And these are things, because I've had talks with certain people about it, these are things you can't really do by yourself as an artist or a band. And this isn't like you're not good enough to do it. It takes too much time and infrastructure that you kind of need to do this. You don't really have it. So let them do that. Oh, they're taking 15%. You know what? 15%'s not that big a deal if your option is 0. And I'm a big believer of more than 0. And I've seen it the last year and a half for sure. And kind of not knowing how it's worked that much from a band side of things, but there's definitely more than 0 money coming in. We're laughing today because we saw a payment come in for, I think it was like half a cent or something for 6 spins. And I sent the message, I'm like, get ready to be rich. And it's like, well, no, but the idea where this stuff is going to stay for say 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to be generating some income. So these are some things to keep in mind. Where am I at here? Actually, this ties in. I was actually going to say, like, people, like, because we don't purchase music as much anymore, this ties in with what Mike was saying with illegal downloads. First off, I don't think illegal downloads are the problem. I've been on the side of the fence where if it was a problem, that was back in Metallica versus Napster days. And because it was handled so poorly, we didn't get to put that genie back in the bottle and make sure people were purchasing music. The tail that we're kind of chasing right now is the idea that we use music as marketing. And I've been telling bands for years that, like, I'm not, as a record producer of over 10 years, I don't make records for people. I help market their music to get people interested in coming out to see them. That's where my mind is always at. I'm always thinking, how is this going to translate live? Can this band perform this live? So the idea that if someone is not paying for your music and listening to it, if they love it, they're still telling people about it. And that word of mouth and that finding other fans that may buy a ticket, may buy a t-shirt, that's worth it. So the idea that blaming that income stream from paid music or purchasing music, that's been replaced in a lot of bands and artists' business model with performing live. They're making more than ever because there's more. Thank you for purchasing Destroying Your Bill, by the way. That's been replaced by people going to more concerts because they know about more artists. It's easier to get the word around for artists. So the idea of it's slowly going away. As much as we look at the charts and it says that, purchased music is, on this nosedive and stuff, it's going away, but people are consuming music so much more than ever because if I have two phones, I can do this. Because if I want to listen to something, I can call it up right now. You name a band, I can find it if they've done their job. You know, be it on any of these platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, like you name it, it should be there. And if it's not, they're making their own bed, so to speak. And I have no, I will shed no tears from them, and they wonder why the music industry is not very good and they can't make a living. Anyways, yeah. So the idea were in 10 years, these artists are going to be able to collect any of these spins, any of these plays, and it is companies like CD Baby that have their publishing set up, and it's only going to get better. And if it doesn't get better, something else is going to come and destroy what they're doing, and then it'll be no-brainer to go with whatever that company is, because it really just is a matter of time. Just going through my quick list here. I think I've covered quite a bit of this. Wow, that was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, and I think the final thing, the idea where if you look at a company like Uber, before you wanted a taxi, you wanted a cab, you would call, you'd go to the dispatcher, they would hook you up with the taxi would come and get you. Beth, we love it when you buy physical copies too. We love signing them. We love taking the pictures and stuff. It's just the idea, if you want to listen to something in your car right now, Amazon still can't get it to you fast enough. They're working on their drone delivery system, but it's still not fast enough. And the kids won't know any different. Sure. You know how it is. Anyways, back with the taxi analogy. You want a taxi, you got a call, you go to dispatcher, and then you get the cab, and then it comes and gets you. With Uber, they replaced the dispatcher with a program, because that's all we need to do is get you, the client, and whoever the provider is, and get those two things, you know, talking and as smoothly and just easy as possible. And publishing is going to be the same way with all these digital files. Where I'm calling it, I think within 10 years, if you're a content creator, you'll be able to see your royalties in real time. The idea where someone plays your song, you'll be able to look at your digital bank account and you'll see the fraction of fractions of a penny drip into it. And that's how fast it should be. CD Baby takes 6 to 8 weeks for them to kind of catch up and collect and do their payouts. But I think with the future of digital payments and smart contracts, which is something I can get into later, that's going to solve a lot of the problems with the artists getting paid, and companies like CD Baby that have the flexibility to work on how their business actually works and how their creators and content creators actually get paid. The majors won't be able to catch up. Number one, it takes them forever to do stuff. I still remember being out in a major and them looking at MySpace and looking at a Good Charlotte page, and 4 of the 5 people there thought it was neat, and one person was like, "We're done. This is not good. Like, we need, like, we can't compete with this, and it's moving too fast." The idea that there is, actually I'll backtrack a little bit, to the idea that million songs published by CD Baby, they're not all home runs, of course. And I would say there's probably, not to sound harsh, but there's probably a lot more garbage. Stuff that people are not listening to. Stuff that people don't want to listen to. There's a lot of vanity projects and hobbyist projects and stuff on there. Way more of that compared to what Sony Music has in their global catalog. But the idea over the next 5 years, 10 years, you're going to see more and more great artists going that stream because they do have more control over their career. And the more great artists they have going there that don't need to go with a publisher, don't need to go with a major, don't need to go with a label, or they've got their own kind of label set up. They're independent, essentially. It's just going to make companies like CD Baby that much more stronger. Sorry if this sounds like a sales pitch for CD Baby, but I know where I'm placing my chips with certain things, where I think the business is going and the industry is going, and I think it's a fantastic thing for independent artists. So yeah, more tools are available than ever. And so I think in closing with that, it's like, this title, I was trying to think of something. It's like, sorry you've been lied to again, but it's like, stop chasing and thinking that a publisher is going to make a huge deal for you. Yes, I know some fantastic publishers and I know what they do, but for the bulk of musicians and artists, they're not able to help you. And it might not be saying like, it might not be about you not being good. It may be about your music not working with what they're trying to actually put out and the things that they're trying to get syncs for commercials or TV or film, or video games or whatever. So you don't need what their services are. Meanwhile, if you need to get your stuff, you need your distribution. Again, do your own research, but yeah, CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, those are fantastic options. And the last thing I will say before I'll scroll through and maybe answer a couple questions, I'm not saying stay independent and don't have a team. And by no means am I saying that all labels are bad and publishers are bad and all these people that want to try to help you are bad and just want your money. Yes, they want to align with things that are, commercially viable, that do have some type of plan to generate income, because at the end of the day they take a percentage, and if you're making zero, that's really easy math, and it does not pay the bills and it does not feed your family. But you're always looking to grow the team. You're always looking for people that are like-minded, and you're always looking for people that I've been taught and I've been told and I've read and I believe you're always looking for people who will help you do 5 times as much as you can do yourself. This is especially handy when you're not particularly strong in certain areas. The idea where they can come in, they can see what you're doing and go, I know how to do this, or I know what I can do with this. So always keep that in mind. Don't actually, I was just talking about it recently. The amount of times I've reached out to bands and they just kind of brush me off, and I'm just like, okay, no big deal, I get it. Because, if a producer reaches out, you're wondering what their MO is. But like 2 or 3 years later, they reach out to me, and then I'm like, you have my email. Like, you pretty much just kind of said, cool, thanks, and just sent me on my way. And now you're asking me questions about stuff. So always be open minded when people do want to get involved. And that being said, if you're doing the right thing, people will take notice. Most of the opportunities that I've had in this business, it's someone going like, I noticed what you were doing, or I heard this, or I saw that, and I wanted to give you a shout. That's not me sending out, 100 cold emails I've done those too. But that's not me just sending in a bunch of cold emails. That people actually recognizing what you're doing. So definitely keep that in mind. So hopefully this rant wasn't too long. Just want to scroll through here and maybe see there's a couple of questions. I've realized in the past I've been pretty bad about not answering anything. Hi to the 10 people that are watching right now, by the way. Mike is saying, purchase Destroying Bill, still can't listen to Like a Nightmare on Pandora. Listen on Spotify. Spotify pays the best for us. It really does help. So if you're going to spin it there. Going back a second about illegal downloads again. It more than ever right now, it just doesn't even matter about illegal downloads, because if you want to listen to something, you can get it for free from one of the distributors, from one of the streaming platforms. So to think that that's taking so much money out of an artist's pocket right now, it's not. So signed copy when DeadEst was in Atlanta. That Atlanta show was pretty fun. I got to see Soulfly. Hey, Tony. Tony knows who Soulfly is. I got to see them in Atlanta. They were playing in another room, and it was really weird because I was like, I feel like I'm 15 right now. If anyone's got any other questions while I'm here. Beth says, I'm curious, though, what generates the most money for a band? When you want to support your band, what helps the most? Buying concert tickets. Like, it's one thing to go to the concerts, another thing to actually purchase the tickets. It helps a lot with the promoters to see that bands are actually moving tickets, that there's a demand. When you buy a ticket, you're not necessarily saying, I want to go to this show. You're saying, I want to make sure I can get into this show. And that is a very, very important thing on the promoter side, because when a show sells out, that's all it gets down to, is you've got X number of people that want to make sure they can get into a show. So, you know, friends and family and stuff, I always encourage them, if they want to go to a show, or if they want to come see one of my bands or something, or a friend's band, like, buying that ticket in advance does help a lot. And a lot of that money will come through, especially the next time, especially with local bands. If they know they can sell tickets, yeah, there's a lot of shady promoters and bookers out there, but if they know they can sell tickets, it gives the band some leverage as well the next time they come through a next tour. That being said, merch, because I'll admit it, the markup on merch is pretty good. So if you buy a t-shirt or a hoodie, any of those things, that helps a lot when they're on tour. I see Kim just chimed in with that. I was just getting there. So that does help a lot as well. You can buy it online, you can buy it at shows, and most of the time with most independent bands, it's directly from music fan to the band. It goes straight through, or maybe they got a merch company that does deal with it. There are some great merch companies up there, but they're not gouging the bands like, say, a store is or something like that, where they need to make their markup first and they're just paying the band some licensing so they can use it. So those two, I'd say, are the best. And then the third thing I would say, we want to support, this isn't necessarily generating money, but in the business world, this helps generate leads, and it's the idea of sharing their content. So if they post something, like I got to post, I'm just going to grab this because it's the closest to me right now. I got to share this stuff today that Stacy sent Dead Set. She made these little monster misfit things, which I think are awesome. So the idea, repost it, and then we had a bunch of people resharing it. And then the live stream we did today, I'll get there in a second, Beth. We're sharing the live streams, or people were sharing the live stream today, and like that helps a lot. And the idea, the more eyeballs that can see what you're doing, the better. So while it's not direct dollars going into a band's bank account and help pay for things like a new van or making a record or a radio campaign, all these things that need to happen, the idea that helping on the PR side, helping with the promotion side of getting the word out there, that can possibly be a priceless amount of help on a band's on a band's end. Because if everybody, like with Dead Set or any band, if you had 100 people share what you were doing a day, that's probably going to do even more than, say, Facebook ads and stuff, which Rick Barker at the CD Baby DIY Musician Conference, he had a really good talk on how to place ads on Facebook, and a lot of people aren't doing stuff like that. That's the saying, it's a shame how large cut the venues want. You know what, like, I'm okay with it. Even the ones that are charging 20% at some of the venues, and people think, oh, that's pretty steep, but you are kind of setting up a store within their venue. And I haven't, and someone who's done merch quite a bit, I haven't been to too many venues where they have taken 10 or 20% of soft, which is your t-shirts and hoodies and hats and stuff, where the venue's crappy and the staff is garbage. Like, most of the time, those places have all been awesome. They fed the bands, the writers have been taken care of, they're earning their percentage. I actually can't think of any where I'm just like, they took 20% and they suck. It's like they are doing something as well, but they're allowing you to open your store up in there. With some of the places too, the more legit ones, they're taking care of their taxes on their end. They run a pretty tight ship. So while it is a percentage, it is a business on both ends. And also keep in mind with some of these big tours, I've I've been privy to look over the shoulder of a couple pretty serious people who run merch. And you wouldn't think of it, but like it's a job when you start seeing some of the numbers and you start seeing the spreadsheets, and you're just like, you sold $60,000 in merch. Like you sold $60,000 of T-shirts and hoodies and hats. One of the largest ones I ever saw was over $300,000. And in my mind, I was like, how do you even generate $300,000 worth of merch? Well, it's an arena show, and it's a AAA artist, and that's so an artist, again, some of them are belly aching about record sales and stuff. It's like, no, it's being made up in other places. They're just kind of keeping you dumb a little bit, making you think they're pointing you in the wrong direction. That's something I probably could have brushed over earlier when we were talking about some of the streaming versus paid paid music services, like purchasing music and stuff. Like, I just think it's that big of a deal. A couple more questions before I get back to work here. Kim is asking your thoughts on tip jar. Absolutely. One of my favorites when we were with Theory of a Dead Man, there the guy running their merch, he had like a bell, and any someone used the tip jar, he'd shout out that he got a tipper, and he'd ring the bell and woo, and it was funny, and people got into it. And it does help. And that being said too, there's times when fans do want to help bands, especially bands on tour, and they don't even want anything. They just want to throw the band, an extra $10 or $5 or $50, which again, always appreciated. The idea, if you're a band or an artist, like, don't deny people who want to help a way for them to help. Don't deny them the ability to help. So having a tip jar is a really easy way to do that. Because the amount of times too where you'll sell something and they get $5 change and they'll be like, no, keep it. Like, you need it more than I do, I'm sure, half jokingly. And the band's like, oh, it's much appreciated. And they're actually like, yes, this $5 actually doesn't make a big difference. Because I know for us, it cost us $60 to fill our gas tank. So $5 gets you 1/12 closer. So online tip jar, I know some artists that do run that. You can run that if you want. I think people are more apt to do that at shows. If you're someone who is streaming frequently, like daily, it might be worth setting that up. Just recently started getting into a platform called Twitch, which is like mainly a gamer community sort of thing, sort of YouTube-ish thing. But they have a system called Bits, which is basically their way of tipping people. So that's kind of their online tip jar. So if it's something that makes sense with what you're doing, absolutely figure it out. Because again, people want to help, and if you're doing most of your work online, why not set that up? Now that I'm thinking of it, Patreon, that's your online tip jar. The idea where people can subscribe to what you're doing and donate money monthly. So that's a really easy one to do as well if you're making a lot of content online and you don't necessarily play a lot of shows, but you can have a Patreon page so people can, monthly give you money, or how you want to work your perks or how you want to work your subscription, and you can do that. So yeah, there are services that are already in place for that. So Twitch is pretty fun. Buddy AJ and I, we started a channel up there, and we were playing Super C for Nintendo last night for an hour and a half, and again, for a guy that doesn't have time to play video games, he laid out the game plan, no pun intended, and he's like, what about this? And I'm like, you know what? We can play video games if this is how we're doing it. So now I have time to play some games. I like it. Any other questions? Kim, you're definitely firing them out here. Actually, Kim, one of the reasons why I'm doing this today is because you caught me on Twitter when I said I wanted to talk about this, and you're like, you should talk about this. So I couldn't go to bed without getting this kind of off my mind here. Gotta appreciate everybody, tuning in, all 9 of you now. And everyone that's like my new page. I'm trying to migrate people over there because there's more things I want to say and do over there. And this is probably the beginning of the next phase of this. Okay, last 2 questions. Do you think artists should promote their online stores year-round? Absolutely. There's no reason not to. Because you're this day and age, you're kind of getting new friends every day. So why would you not? You can either run ads, or you can, like, obviously you don't want to spam people all the time, and especially your mailing list. You don't want to keep hitting them over the head and trying to sell them all the time. But I will admit, Dead Set doesn't really promote our store too much, but I'm going to the post office once a week to drop some stuff in the mail, which is, I don't want to complain, but there's a lot more writing involved when you're sending stuff from Canada to the U.S. So it is what it is. But it's, yeah, you should have your store up. I think you should probably refresh your stuff at least every 3 or 4 months. Again, do as I say. Don't. I can't remember what the phrasing is, but don't do as I do, sort of thing. Because I know Death is pretty bad with that. Because there's things we'd like to try with our merch, but time is just going by really fast right now. So yeah, I think you should be able to refresh your merch every 3 or 4 months, 6 months at the most, and it's definitely a financial, a source of income that most bands aren't kind of taking care of. Beth saying, favorite place to eat on the road. In Peoria, next to Rail 2, there's a barbecue place. It's the best. I can't remember what it's called, and if anyone chimes in on it, I'll be like, yeah, that's what it is. They have like these brisket sandwiches, and they've got the sauces, and you put the sauce on, and then you eat, and you just keep saucing and eating. And yeah, I haven't actually played a comfortable show at Rail 2 because I'm always really full of barbecue. That's my favorite. If you need to book a show around there, I'll go play it because of the food. Ever think about something like Creative Live teach mixing? You don't want to see me teach mixing because it would, I don't know. In my mind, I have the million monkeys and a million typewriters approach. There's things that I do when I'm mixing, but most of the time I'm just like, what am I doing? And then it sounds good, and I'm like, awesome. And then I tear it all down and then put all the faders back up, and then it sounds better than it did before. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And then I send it to Pete Letros, my mastering guy, and he tells me if I did good or not. So that's not going to be a very good class. I'm saying yes, there's opportunity around you to promote. Yeah, for sure. And then run some sales at Christmas to get some stuff out of the closet, and you're good. Country Club Barbecue. That does sound familiar. That does sound like what it is. And starting to salivate now. Anyways, I should probably get going. I'm just trying to ramble now if I'm talking about barbecue. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Again, please like the new Facebook page. Please subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Yeah, again, I'm going to do my best to post some more of these now that things are starting to make a little more sense. Again, appreciate the support. I think that is it for now. All right, talk to you guys later.